The pounding on the door grew louder. "Open up!" The man outside struck the door again with his fist, his voice thick with anger and impatience. Sophie's entire body went rigid. Her fingers tightened around Lucas's sleeve as if her life depended on it. Her face drained of color, lips trembling uncontrollably. "He's here," she whispered hoarsely. "He found me." Lucas's gaze shifted slowly from her pale face to the door. His expression darkened. The unnatural heat burning through his veins was already clouding his senses, but the cold fury rising in his chest was stronger, far stronger. He reached out and gently, yet firmly, removed Sophie's hand from his sleeve. "Stay here," he said in a low voice. "Calm, too calm." Before Sophie could react, Lucas turned and strode toward the door. Each step he took carried an invisible pressure, like the quiet approach of a storm no one could stop. He unlocked the door and pulled it open in one sharp motion. The middle-aged man, who had been ready to crash inside, staggered forward when the door suddenly gave way. Their eyes met. In that instant, all arrogance drained from the man's face. Standing before him was Lucas Knight. The man froze. Everyone in the city knew that face, the sharp eyes that could cut through glass, the cold presence that crushed people without a word, the man who controlled not just wealth, but power itself. Lucas Knight. The man's mouth fell open. His blood ran cold. I didn't know this was your room, Mr. Knight," he stammered. You have 3 seconds." Lucas's voice was flat, emotionless. "Get out." The man didn't dare hesitate. Fear surged through him violently. He bowed clumsily, nearly tripping over his own feet as he turned. I'm leaving right now." He fled down the corridor as if death itself were chasing him, footsteps echoing in frantic disorder. Lucas stood at the doorway for a moment, watching the man disappear. Then he closed the door. The click of the lock sounded like a final verdict. The woman behind the door, Sophie, had slid down to the floor, her back pressed tightly against the wall, arms wrapped around herself, her entire body trembling as though she were sinking into icy water. When Lucas turned back, she flinched instinctively. Her fear hadn't vanished. It had merely changed form. Lucas approached slowly. She shrank deeper into the corner, eyes wide with panic. "Don't come closer," she whispered weakly. Please." He stopped 2 steps away. For the first time, he truly looked at her. She was fragile in the most dangerous way, like glass already webbed with cracks. One wrong touch and she would shatter completely. Her dress was rumpled, hair tangled, eyes red from crying. Each breath she took was shallow, uneven, as if breathing itself hurt. The drug was still burning through her veins. So was his. "You're safe," he said quietly. The word felt strange, even to him. "Safe." Sophie shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I'm not," she whispered. "They won't stop. They never stop." Lucas frowned. "Who is they?" She didn't answer, not because she refused, but because fear had wrapped itself too tightly around her throat. Her shoulders shook violently. Lucas exhaled slowly. He removed his suit jacket and draped it over her trembling body. The sudden warmth made her gasp softly. "Sit up," he said. She obeyed without realizing it, movements slow, uncoordinated. When the fabric touched her skin, she flinched again. The unfamiliar male scent triggered the drug inside her, sending a dangerous wave through her body. She pressed her thighs together instinctively, breath hitching. Lucas noticed. His jaw tightened. "You were drugged with something that heightens sensitivity," he said coldly. "So was I." Her pupils widened. "You too?" "Yes." Her mind reeled. For a fleeting moment, despair deepened even further. If even he wasn't clear-headed, then what did that mean for her? The air between them grew thick, heavy, suffocating. On another floor, the hunters arrive. 2 floors below, the elevator doors slid open. Bella stepped out first, heels clicking sharply against the marble. She wore a pale pink dress, hair perfectly styled, face gentle and radiant beneath the dim lights. Behind her followed Elisa and two men carrying camera equipment. The photographers exchanged eager glances. "This room, right?" one asked quietly. Bella nodded. "Yes, everything is ready." Her smile was soft. Her eyes were not. Inside her purse, her phone vibrated. A slow breath escaped her lips. "Good." Elisa leaned closer. "Once the door opens, start shooting immediately. No delays." "Of course, Mother." Bella lifted her chin. Tonight, Sophie Miller would lose everything. The empty room. They stopped in front of room 1808. One photographer adjusted his lens nervously. "Are you sure she's in there?" Bella smiled sweetly. "Absolutely." She slid the key card in. The light turned green. The door opened. The photographers rushed in first. Cameras clicked. Flashlights cut through the darkness. And then they froze. The room was empty. The bed untouched. Curtains swaying gently in the air-conditioned silence. No woman. No man. No scandal. Only cold emptiness. Elisa's face drained of color. "What? Where is she?" she whispered sharply. Bella's smile finally cracked. "That's impossible," she muttered. "She should be here." One photographer lowered his camera. "Miss, there's no one." Bella rushed inside, checking the bathroom, the balcony, every corner. Nothing. Sophie was gone. Panic crawled up her spine. "No, no," she whispered. Elisa's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You said everything was under control." Bella swallowed. I don't understand." She was already handed to the man. She couldn't have escaped. A terrifying thought struck her. Her nails dug into her palms. Unless, back in Lucas's room, Sophie's breathing grew increasingly erratic. The drug was reaching its peak. Her skin burned, her body aching with a frightening, unfamiliar need she couldn't comprehend. Her consciousness drifted in and out. Lucas stood a few steps away, body rigid. He felt it too, the relentless heat crawling beneath his skin. The tension tightened like a drawn bow. "Drink this," he said, handing her a glass of cold water. She tried to take it, but her hands shook too badly. The glass clinked softly. He hesitated, then lifted it to her lips himself. She drank in small, broken sips. Water slipped down her chin, tracing her throat. Lucas's gaze darkened. "Who did this to you?" he asked quietly. She struggled for breath. "My sister." The words fell like ice. "She wanted." Sophie's lashes trembled. "She wanted to destroy me." Lucas said nothing, but something shifted in his chest. "Your family?" he asked. She let out a faint, broken laugh. "I don't think I ever had one." The truth in her voice was quiet and devastating. The first crack. At room 1808, Bella forced herself to stay calm. "Check the hallways," she snapped. "She must still be on this floor." The photographers hesitated. "If we leave now, there is no moment." Bella shouted, "Go!" They scattered. Elisa grabbed Bella's arm. If she really escaped, her voice dropped. "You know what that means." Bella's stomach twisted. They had lost control. And without control, everything could turn against them. A door that should never have opened. Inside room 1810, Sophie's strength finally gave out. Her head tilted weakly. Her lashes fluttered. "You," she murmured faintly. The first time she had spoken his name, the sound sent a strange jolt through Lucas. "Yes, I think." Her voice cracked. "I'm going to faint." Her body fell forward. Lucas caught her instinctively. She was light, too light. Her skin burned, her breathing uneven. For one dangerous second, his grip tightened. Reason screamed for restraint. The drug screamed louder. Outside the door, hurried footsteps passed. Searchers, hunters. Inside the room, two people stood at the edge of a fate neither of them could escape. Meanwhile, Bella understands. A photographer rushed back. "Miss Bella, she's not on this floor." Bella's face went pale. Her thoughts raced. Which room? A name surfaced. Lucas Knight. "That can't be," she whispered. but dread had already wrapped around her heart. Because if Sophie had entered his room, then everything was out of her control, and that was the most terrifying outcome of all. The room felt like it was burning, not with fire but with something far more dangerous. The curtains were drawn halfway, allowing thin streaks of city lights to slip through the narrow gap, blurring into gold and white shadows across the walls. The air was thick, heavy, charged with something unseen yet suffocating. Lucas was holding Sophie in his arms. Her body trembled uncontrollably. Her lashes fluttered, her breathing broken and uneven. Every soft exhale brushed hot against his chest, and the warmth of her skin seeped through the thin fabric of her dress, sending a sharp jolt through his already unstable nerves. He stiffened. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. "You need to stay awake," he said hoarsely. "Look at me." She tried, her eyes open just a little unfocused, dazed, looking at him as though he were part of a dream she could not grasp. "It hurts," she whispered. Lucas clenched his jaw. The drug was tearing through both of them, slowly dismantling logic and restraint. He could feel it in every breath, every tightening muscle, every thought that refused to stay rational. Swallowing hard, he carried her toward the bed and laid her down carefully at the edge. "Don't move," he said quietly. "I'll call a doctor." He turned toward the desk, but her fingers suddenly closed around his wrist. Weak, desperate, burning hot. "Don't leave," she murmured. The words shattered the last fragile thread of control he had left. He froze, then slowly turned back. She was looking at him now, but not truly seeing him. Her gaze was clouded, trapped in a haze where reality and illusion blurred together. "Stay," she whispered again. "Please." Lucas felt his pulse surge violently beneath her touch. "You don't know what you're asking," he said. She shook her head faintly. "I just don't want to be alone." Those words struck deeper than any physical contact ever could. Lonely, broken, abandoned. He saw it all in that single, fragile sentence, and his restraint cracked. Between consciousness and madness, the room seemed to tilt. Time slowed, stretched, heavy and distorted. Lucas leaned down, bracing one arm beside her, his breathing uneven. "Look at me," he murmured again. Her eyes fluttered open. For a brief moment, just one clarity passed through her gaze. She saw a man hovering over her, tall, broad, dark eyes burning like a storm barely held back, handsome in a distant, dangerous way. But she did not know who he was, only that he was real, and that she was no longer alone. Her lips trembled, warm. That was when the final thread snapped. Lucas did not kiss her, not at first. He only lowered his forehead to hers, his breath mingling with hers in the narrow space between them. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. She didn't answer. Her silence was not consent. It was confusion. It was the fog of a drugged mind. And that was what made everything that followed so painfully, disastrously irreversible. The night that changed everything. Outside the room, the world continued as usual. Cars passed. Lights shifted. People walked by the door, unaware that destinies were colliding behind it. Inside room 1810, two broken, drugged souls crossed a line neither of them would ever be able to erase. There were no promises, no names exchanged, no future spoken aloud. Only heat, only trembling, only two wounded lonelinessies colliding in the dark. To Sophie, everything felt like a dream, a blurred, unreal dream where fear softened into warmth, where despair dissolved into something painfully gentle. She did not remember falling asleep. She did not remember surrendering. Only that, somewhere in the darkness, someone had held her when her mind was falling apart. To Lucas, the night was a battlefield, between reason and instinct, between control and collapse, between the man he had built himself into, and the one he had been forced to become within these walls. And when the night finally gave way to dawn, nothing remained the same. Meanwhile, the other side of the hotel, on another floor, Bella paced back and forth beside the window of a dim lounge. Her phone was clenched tightly in her hand. No messages, no answers. Her heart pounded harder with every passing second. "This is taking too long," she muttered. Elisa sat rigidly on the sofa, fingers gripping the edge of her purse. "Everything went wrong the moment that girl escaped the room," she said coldly. "If she truly entered Lucas Knight's room, we're in serious trouble." Bella stopped short. She turned sharply. "You think I don't know that?" Her voice cracked. For the first time that night, genuine fear slipped through her perfect mask. "If Lucas Knight touches her," she said slowly, "this stops being a simple family matter." Bella's fingers trembled around her phone. "We need to know where she is. Then we find out," Elisa replied coldly. "Dawn." Sophie woke slowly. Soft, unfamiliar light filtered through the curtains. Her head throbbed. Her body felt heavy. Warm. Too warm. She shifted slightly and froze. An arm was wrapped around her waist. Strong. Firm. Male. Her breath caught painfully. Memories rushed back in broken fragments. The hallway. Running. The locked door. The dark room. The stranger. Her heart slammed violently. She opened her eyes. Slowly. Carefully. She was in a large, unfamiliar bed. And beside her, Lucas Knight lay asleep, his expression calm, his brow relaxed in a way she had never seen before. Sunlight traced the sharp lines of his face. This time, she was fully awake. This time, she recognized him. Terror exploded through her entire body. "Oh God!" She clapped a hand over her mouth to silence a scream. Her world collapsed in a single breath. She had spent the night with Lucas Knight, the man everyone feared, the man whose name alone could destroy lives. Tears burned her eyes as the truth crushed down on her. Last night had not been a dream. It had been real, and nothing terrified her more than that. At the same time, Bella gets her answer. Bella's phone vibrated sharply. She grabbed it instantly. The message was short, cold, damning. "She entered room 1810 last night. Lucas Knight's room." Bella's knees weakened. She had to grip the table to steady herself. "No," she whispered. Elisa read the message over her shoulder. Her face turned ashen. "This is bad." Bad? This was catastrophic. Bella's thoughts spiraled. If Sophie came out of that room alive, unbroken, with Lucas Knight involved, then everything had flipped. Sophie would no longer be the one at the mercy of scandal. They would be, and for the first time in her carefully controlled life, Bella realized she had lost control. Back to reality. Sophie sat rigidly at the edge of the bed, clutching the blanket tightly around herself. Her hands trembled. Tears slid silently down her cheeks. She didn't dare look back at the man still sleeping behind her. Every second felt suffocating. She had entered the wrong room, met the wrong man, and now her life would never return to what it once was. Behind her, Lucas stirred. Slowly, his eyes opened, and the day that would destroy every illusion had officially begun.